Welcome back to our online studies. Standard 4th Subject English, Lesson number 29, Androcles and the Lion. Today we are going to learn one beautiful story, Androcles and the Lion. In this chapter, we will study how Androcles became the friend of the lion. Let us read one by one paragraph and then I will explain it to you. Long, long ago, there lived a kind, gentle, and courteous man called Androcles. Courteous means polite and respectful. But he had a very cruel master. Cruel means not good in kind. In those days, kings, nobles, and other wealthy men used poor people as their slaves. Slave means a person who is legally owned by someone else and has to work for them. Androcles was a slave. The slaves were forced to work for their masters. They had to do what their masters told them. They had no freedom, no rights. Even when they were unhappy with their master, they could not leave him. They were bound by law to obey their master, however wicked he might be. Children, in this para, meaning is long, long ago, one polite and respectful person was lived. What was his name? Androcles. But his master was very cruel. That means Androcles was a slave. Here, these slaves have no freedom and no rights. Whatever their master will told them, they had to do that work. Even they were unhappy also, they could not leave his master, and they were bound by a law to obey their master, however they wicked might be. Next paragraph. Androcles did not like his wicked master. His master starved his slaves and often whipped them. Yes, students, these masters were very cruel and they were not giving them any food in time, and even they were punishing, beating also. Androcles felt that even death was better than serving such a master. Yes, he felt like that better to death only, and he kept looking out for a good opportunity. At the first chance he got, he escaped from the clutches of his cruel master. Whenever he got a chance, he escaped from that clutches. Clutches means the power and control of someone. Now, although Androcles had thus run away, he was not a coward. Coward means the person who have no courage. That means Androcles have courage. He took shelter in a forest. He was not afraid of the wild beast that roamed the forest. He did not mind that he had no roof over his head. He was happy that he was free as a bird to go wherever he wished. Here, the meaning is Androcles ran away from his master. Then he was not a coward. He has got the courage. So he went to where? In the forest. He took shelter there. He was not afraid of the wild animals. Freely he was roamed in the forest. And then he was so happy that now he is so free as a but wherever he wished, he can go there. One day, as he was wandering in the forest, he suddenly came face to face with a lion. His first reaction was to turn and flee. But then he saw that the lion had not moved on seeing him. It neither growled nor roared. In fact, it looked at him piteously as if it was in great pain. Here, one day what happened? The Androcles was wandering in the forest. Suddenly, one lion was there. And very piteously, the lion was looking at him. That means he neither growled or nor roared. Androcles paused. Then he moved very cautiously towards the lion, step by step. The lion moaned and whimpered, "Please help me," its eyes seemed to say. Here, Androcles paused means without a movement. Then later, very carefully, he moved towards the lion step by step. Yes, students, very slowly. Then what happened? The lion moaned and whimpered. Whimpered means made unhappy and frightened sound. Then he was saying like that, "Please help me." When Androcles drew near, the lion lowered its head and began to lick its paw. Then Androcles saw that the lion's paw was wounded, sore, and swollen. As he came near, the lion put out his paw, which was all swollen and bleeding. On a closer look, Androcles noticed that a big thorn had pierced one of the lion's toes. So, this is the cause of the lion's distress, thought Androcles. Androcles found that a huge thorn had got into it and was causing all the pain. Summoning up all his courage, Androcles stretched his hand slowly towards the injured paw. He was afraid that the lion would attack him if he touched its swollen paw. But the lion seemed to understand his good intention. Here, summoning up his courage means making a great effort to be brave. Androcles stretched his hand slowly towards the injured paw, but he was afraid maybe the lion would attack him if he touches in that swollen paw. But here the lion understand his aim. Androcles took the paw in his left hand. Deftly he pulled out the thorn. Then, tearing a piece of his own clothing, the kind man bound up the lion's injured paw. To his surprise and wonder, the lion then licked his arm as if to show gratitude. Here, Androcles took the paw in his left hand. Deftly means skillfully and quickly. What he did, he pulled out that thorn. Then he tore his own cloth, then bound up the lion's injured paw. Surprising and wonder, this lion, he licked his arm and showing his thankfulness. Androcles remained with the lion till it could walk again. He would hunt in the forest and share his food with the helpless beast. Every day he would clean and dress the lion's wound. Soon the lion was able to move about. Many times it followed Androcles wherever he went, till lion could walk again. Androcles remained with him. Then he hunt in the forest and share the food with this helpless lion. Then again what he did, children? Daily he cleaned his wound and dressed also. So soon the lion was able to move about. Then many times this lion was followed the Androcles wherever he went. In the meanwhile, Androcles' master had complained to the authorities that his slave Androcles had run away. Soldiers were sent in all directions to capture Androcles. They searched for him high and low, but could not find him. At last they came to the forest where Androcles lived. Yes, children, by this time what happened? The Androcles master, that wicked master, he had complained to the authorities about his slave. Androcles had ran away. So the soldiers also in search of him, and at the last they were reached to the forest where the Androcles lived. It so happened that Androcles had gone out alone that day while the lion rested near the cave. Both of them fell into the hands of the soldiers. The soldiers took them back to the city. They put Androcles in chains in a prison. The lion was caged. Here the soldiers, they were in search of Androcles in the forest. So here both of them fell into the hand of the soldiers. Both of them means the Androcles also and even the lion also. Then they took them back to the city and they put the Androcles in the chain in the prison and the lion was caged. In those days, people who were found to be guilty of a serious crime were fed to wild beasts as punishment. Running away from one's master was a very serious crime at that time. Therefore, Androcles too was to be thrown to the wild beast. Running away from one's master was a very serious crime. Here, Androcles were found to be guilty for that, so he was fed to wild beasts as punishment. Therefore, Androcles too was to be thrown to the wild animals. On the appointed day, the emperor arrived at the circus and took his place. The crowds cheered loudly. The trumpeters blew the trumpet, and Androcles was brought into the arena. His chains were unbound. He felt weak and dismayed. He was certain that this was the last day of his life. Here the Androcles was brought into the arena. Arena means a place where sports, entertainments and other public events takes place. Then here the emperor also arrived and took his place. The Androcles' chains were unbound and he felt very weak and dismayed. Then he was certain, he was sure that this was the last day of his life. At the opposite end, a gate was raised, and a ferocious lion was released into the arena. It had been kept hungry to make it more ferocious. Androcles was filled with fear, but he put up a brave front. Here the gate was raised, and a ferocious means fierce lion, it was released into the arena. So the lion was already hungry. It make it more ferocious then. Androcles filled with a very fear, and but still he put up a brave front. The lion saw Androcles and rushed towards him, bounding and roaring. But suddenly it stopped in its tracks. Then it moved slowly forward. All its rage seemed to have melted. Androcles saw this too. Each friend recognized the other. The lion saw Androcles bounding and roaring and rushed towards him. But suddenly he stopped his tracks. Then it moved slowly forward. Yes, children, that lion recognized his friend. To everyone's amazement, the lion bounded towards Androcles again. But when it reached him, it began to purr and rub its nose against him. Androcles hugged the lion. He wept with relief and joy. The lion bounded towards Androcles, and he reached him, then began to purr and rub its nose against him. So what Androcles did? He hugged the lion, and he wept with relief and joy. The audience, including the emperor, watched this tender sight in great wonder. People began to cheer Androcles and asked for his release. The emperor asked Androcles to explain the lion's strange behavior. When he heard the whole story, the emperor was also moved by the gratitude and friendship between man and beast. He ordered that Androcles should be set free. He would no longer be a slave. Here, the audience and including the emperor, everybody watched the sight, and it was the great wonder. People began to cheer Androcles and asked for his release. The emperor was wondered and asked the Androcles about this lion's strange behavior, what it is. You have to explain. Emperor heard the whole story. Then he was moved by the gratitude and friendship between man and beast. Then he ordered also the Androcles should be set free, and he would no longer be a slave. When the emperor asked Androcles what other reward he would like, Androcles replied that he did not want anything for himself, but he wanted the lion to be set free too. The two friends went back to the forest to live a free life. Here the emperor asked Androcles, would you like any other reward? But this kind, gentle, and courteous man replied that he did not want anything for himself, but he wanted his friend, the lion, to be set free. Then these two friends went back to the forest to live a free life. I hope you all enjoyed this story. Thank you.